Welcome to the Crazy Canuck Truckin' Podcast, episode number 22. My name is Bridget. I am the Size Matters Dakotan, and my co-host is
Crazy Canuck Dave. Welcome aboard, everybody else, again.
Howdy, Dave. We are so happy to have people here with us. Thank you for joining us. Please make sure to follow us not only on Instagram and Twitter at Crazy Canuck Truckin'. You can also send us your comments, your questions, and your ideas at crazycanucktruckin@gmail.com. You can follow us on YouTube as well and watch all of this live. And best of all, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so that you don't miss an episode, and give us a 5-star rating. Also, I want to make sure to say that today we're going to be using a 10 code again. And today I want to use 10-9. And that is, let me look at my notes. 10-9 means that's a repeat message, because I think today, Dave, we're going to have a number of great things we're going to talk about with our guest that people might want to go back and listen to. So let's not forget to use that 10 code as we go along today. So tell me about your day. How's things over there?
Well, it's good over here. It's we're having a little bit of moisture, which is good. I'm going to need that for my sweet corn this year.
Yes,
but we're going to do something a little bit different today, Bridget. Just a little different.
What's your plan?
Well, I'm pretty wound up about something.
Oh?
Yeah, I know that it doesn't happen very often, but you want to hear what I'm wound up about?
Well, why would I say no? Of course I'd like to know what's going on. Fill me in.
So, you know how we always say you need to, if you see something, you need to speak up. You need to talk about it. So a situation was brought to my attention this week. Some guy thought it would be just fine to send an intimate photo of himself to somebody who doesn't really know him and didn't want to see anything like that. And this lady, you know, like, this was in a private message. It was not on Twitter. It was on a different platform. And this lady then sent that message on to some of her girlfriends and said, look, this is what this guy has done. And I think that's exactly the right thing that should have been done. If there is a problem, if there's a guy being inappropriate privately to somebody, then you need to protect yourselves and you need to call it out. And that's what happened. And then one of the girlfriends decided, I'm going to put on Twitter that, you know what, guys, please don't send unsolicited, intimate pictures of yourself to ladies. That is just not cool. That's not right. Something to that effect. And a couple of days later, or sometime after, I don't know exactly the timeline, her boss, this girlfriend that had tweeted out a reminder to people to say, please don't send these pictures, got a call from her boss and said, that was inappropriate that you did that. And the original lady that got the post was flabbergasted. Like, really? Can you imagine somebody in management saying, oh, I don't care if you see a guy doing something inappropriate. We don't want to hear about that. He's probably a nice guy. So just leave it alone. That made me so angry that a boss would actually come to a lady and say, you can't call out this bad behavior. There was nothing bad written in that tweet. I saw the tweet myself. I didn't think much of it at the time, except that I knew that, oh, you know what? Somebody has been getting unsolicited, intimate pictures. And so, of course, that's a great thing to do, is to say to everybody, stop doing this, please. Do you really need that reminder? I don't know if you need that reminder, but you should. That should not be a problem. And this is what's got me so wound up. The boss or bosses or somebody at that company that flagged that as inappropriate, that person is enabling other people to get away with bad behavior. Behavior that is not acceptable. If that had gone to a minor or somebody else, because we don't know who's really behind a lot of these accounts, there can be some real problems here. And I think that company that is trying to justify this bad behavior, I'm not into cancel culture, but in this case, when something like this happens, I think those companies should feel the pain of losing customers over stuff like this. So that is what I am wound up about, Bridget, that somebody would think that it's okay to protect these perverts. And I don't know what else to call it. I think social media is great for many things because I've had blind spots. I'm not kidding. I've had blind spots. And somebody has said something on a social media program and I'm like, I didn't really think about that. But now that you give me some background, now I can understand a little bit better. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm coming from this week. It really got me wound up. I posted about it on Twitter. I didn't rant this long. Anyway, sorry to interrupt everybody's normal routine, but ladies, keep posting that stuff. If you see something inappropriate, speak up about it. Or guys, because it happens to guys as well, speak up.
That was going to be my point too, is it's not just guys that do it. Plenty of women are inappropriate too. So we all can be better humans. We can all be much better behaved. I realize I work for a big company and a lot of companies don't have a great plan when it comes to social media. And it's important for those companies to remember that even if an incident happens online, they will have to have an accurate response. If it's one of their employees' personal accounts, I know they still have the right to comment, and they can and will. But if that incident had happened in person, their response should be the same as if it was online. Not just ignore it and let it go. You can't quite do that. So I too was well aware of what was going on Twitter this past week. It was pretty dramatic to watch the responses and what people's thoughts were, and educational. That was a moment, just like you said, where I got to see a lot of other people's point of views, and I appreciated that.
Yeah. So now that is out of my system, I'm smiling again. I'm happy.
That's right.
We're good. You know what? I'm going to introduce our next guest.
Well, he's been waiting so patiently. So who is this guy?
This guy is somebody I didn't know until a few days ago. In fact, March the 31st. And Bridget, we are going to do something again because today is a day for different things. We're going to do something a little different. So I'm going to show the video of why and how I met this driver and why he is so amazing.
All right.
So just hang on with me as I get to this. And I want to hear your comments, Bridget, as we go through this.
Okay.
Highway 3 in Alberta, just west of 7 persons.
So what I am doing is I am watching this driving down the road. Looks like there's off to the left. There's almost some pasture. There's a corral there. Again, this is coming from this perspective and seat of an over-the-road big semi. Notice I said semi. And I see just a little bit of snow in the ditch. Again, I'm watching on the left-hand side because I see something like wide open space there. I see cars going by like they normally would be. But then I see a semi, and that guy was pulling double grain trailers, and he was kind of off to the side a little bit. Something is going on. Cars are pulling over. This semi has pulled over that was filming. He just got past.
See the dust and smoke from the tire blow up?
I do. I see all sorts of stuff up front that when that double grain trailer went by, the dust, the smoke, he had to pull over to the side of the road. I mean, I've heard those bangs, but that is a frightening situation to be in. Unbelievable. He's pulled way out off the road.
Incredible piece of driving by Perry. I stopped to talk to him. He told me he hung onto the wheel, didn't make any sudden moves.
I bet he had to hang onto the wheel a lot. And was
He
it just one tire that blew?
that, and he parked it in the corner of the field and was able to continue his day after getting a new tire put on. Amazing.
That's pretty awesome to watch. That guy, that semi driver, got pulled over safely without something happening. He didn't hit anybody else. He didn't cause any other incident. And I don't know anything else besides having just seen that video. So tell me now what's going on.
So that was my dash cam in my truck. And I had just written an article about how when people have something happen on the road, what they need to do is hang on to the wheel, get control, don't hit your brakes. And if the truck needs to go towards the ditch, then just go with it. So I turned around, I went to see the driver, and here is our driver with us today. Welcome to our show, Perry. Thank you for being such an amazing driver and saving it. I thought I was going to have to come and pull you out of a rolled over wreck. And welcome.
Thank you, David.
So how long have you been driving, Perry?
Oh, pretty close to 40 years.
Have you ever had a front tire blow before?
Never.
Okay. New kid here. Lots of questions. You've been driving for 40 years. You
Yeah.
are driving. Are you in BC? Is that what I heard?
No, Alberta.
Where are you at? You're in Alberta. Okay.
Yep.
Are you a commercial driver? You were hauling that double grain trailer for a farm? Give me your situation there, please.
Commercial trucker hauling grain for farmers.
Got it. And that was a front steer tire that blew.
That it was. Yep.
When you were hanging on, what did you feel? Did you know what it was right away?
Not right away. I mean, the initial boom, I thought it was like a turbo pipe or something. And then it started, the steering wheel started rattling and shaking. And well, then I knew this ain't no turbo pipe because I've had turbo pipe blow and that makes a boom too. And then pulling off, it just started pulling to the ditch and went to the ditch with it. And I actually kind of thought it was probably going to roll, but it didn't. So this happened doing about 108, 109K.
So about 65, 66 miles an hour for our American friend.
Yeah.
So
how far do you think you traveled before you were able to get that stopped?
it probably went just a little bit more than a kilometer. I would say just a little over a quarter of a mile. So I think that's about a kilometer, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But,
you see in the video where I marked with that star saying, keep this area in mind, there's some bee huts there.
Yes.
And then how long, I sped that video up twice as fast because I didn't want you just sitting there watching for a long time. And it was a kilometer. So that's about a little over half a mile from where he blew the tire until he pulled off. So give us a blow by blow, pardon the expression there, Perry.
That was horrible, but funny. Thank you.
I know.
Okay.
I'm here all day. So it pulls you, the last I see of you, you're heading for the bottom of the ditch. Is that what you stayed doing, or tell us what happened as you rolled?
It went down into the bottom of the ditch, and then it kept pulling to the side and going up the other side of the ditch. And I mean, the ditches there aren't really that steep, so it wasn't really that, so then, it's just gravity starts slowing you down, of course. So then I'm putting along there. Well, not really putting along, scooting along. And then I thought, well, geez, I should try to get this back up onto the road, you know. So then I started going back up the roadside ditch, and it started getting kind of steep. So I thought, shoot, nope, I'm gonna not do that. That might roll it here too. So then I just looked forward and seen that approach coming up there and that corner there. And like you said, there's beehives in that corner there. And I just kind of had to actually take a little power to turn the corner and get in there. But it was, and then you just pulled in there and stopped. So
Were you
it was-
loaded?
no,
So that was empty trailers,
empty trailers. Yep.
but it still had to be like wrestling a bear with that steering wheel.
Oh, it was, it was just, like put yourself back in the seat, hands 10 and 2, whatever, and just kind of hang on and, like David said, no braking, no nothing, I mean, you really, it's never happened before, so you don't really know what to do, but, common sense, just hang on, push and hang on. So, and
Mhm.
that's what I do. I mean, I see, wildlife sometimes, and I mean, I don't try to swerve to hit to miss, and I do the same thing. I just kind of brace myself and sort of hold on. So that kind of took over, I guess.
That's your experience shining through there, Perry.
Yeah.
You can, I mean, that was textbook. I was watching in my mirror because I was sure you were going to be rolling over, and I'm watching in my mirror and I'm looking and he's going and he's going, and I see him start to come back up out, and then he goes back down to the bottom again, and I'm like, he's got it. He's got it. I tell you what, Perry, I didn't tell you this before. I don't think I did, but when I drove away from there and left, that made my whole trip. I called people, I talked to people, I said, hey, you wouldn't believe what I saw.
Yeah.
Because this is something I preach about and try to get people to understand that hang on to the wheel, get control, don't make any sudden moves, don't hit the brakes.
Yeah.
And you're a living example.
Well, something worked out.
So, guys, to the one who drives, a half-ton pickup, what would have been the difference had your trailers been full?
Oh, that would have been bad, I think. I think just the weight would have caused some major problems. It would have went in the ditch, and I'm sure it probably would have dug in and probably rolled over.
Mm-hmm. Because you've got that much more weight, that much more force. Your kilometer to stop would have certainly been longer.
For sure. Yeah. And at the edge of that little thing there was an irrigation canal. So that was another concern. Because I live close there. So I mean, I travel up and down that road all the time. So I know where I'm at. And I knew this irrigation canal was coming. I mean, there's no water in it, but it's a canal, it's a ditch, so, but by that time it was slow enough that I was able to turn into where that little approach there. So, yeah.
The timing was good, Bridget. If that had happened 20 or 30 seconds later, then he wouldn't have been able to avoid that irrigation canal. But he still would have been straight. And the damage still would have been less than if he'd been cranking the wheel or anything else.
Well, I'd have probably been on the brake seeing the irrigation canal coming.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that would have been total instinct. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that was really exciting for me to see that, and to see that there are still some good professional drivers out here.
Perry, would you say that you thought it was exciting in that ride too?
Oh, it was, it was, well, I don't know if exciting is at the top of my list, but it certainly was an experience.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
when I pulled up and parked by that field entrance, I turned around and I walked over to Perry. Then he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I said, "Hey, I'm doing good, but I saw what happened to you." And he's like, "Oh, you saw that?"
Hard to
I was
miss,
like,
Perry.
"Yeah, I was right there." But you know, because Casper, my truck is, so well hidden, he didn't even see me. That I'm kidding. Like when something like that happens, you have only eyes for what's in front of you. You don't look to see what oncoming traffic is.
No,
But
no.
that had been a left steer tire.
Oh my.
We may have met a little sooner and quicker,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
So
that
I'm
would have been a whole different story, I guess. Try to do something a whole lot different if that would have been left, like,
yeah.
you know.
So, Perry, having been driving for like 40 years, as you said, how often do you think you have been through some sort of driver safety training?
None.
Every day.
Holy cow. Because,
Well, what do you mean? Like every
well,
day on the road is driver safety training. I mean, like I mean, obviously I started at a very young age, and you grow up, just being cautious. And, like, to me, the biggest thing is, like when you're driving down the road, you don't watch just what's in front of you. You watch, a quarter of a mile, half a mile, what's going on up front there. So, I
Mhm.
mean, you look and you try to avoid situations.
I would
Yeah,
agree. And,
it's
and when
not-
I say driver's training, as someone who drives for a company, and I annually have to go through a driver's training course, and I have 10 rules of the road that I need to follow when I'm driving. So that's what I have to do in a passenger vehicle. I was curious what you do, but your point about every day is a new day of driver's training, spot
Yep.
on.
Yep. And it's true. I mean, like I see what people do, like I'm driving down a 4-lane highway, and I can see, something moving slow way, half a mile ahead. I'm moving over, but the people in front of me, well, they wait till they get right there and then jam on the brakes, like, well, come on, didn't you see this? And
Mhm.
I really think the biggest problem in driving on the highways now is people got their nose in a phone all the time.
Mhm.
yeah,
You know, they
distracted
don't,
driving.
yeah, they don't see what's going on right in, or they see what's going on in front of them, but they're not looking far enough forward because they're looking at other things. That's
And
my opinion.
I'm busy Googling some things here I want to ask. And I would agree with that because we have all decided we are proficient multitaskers.
Yeah.
Um, I will never forget as a kid growing up on the farm. Now, granted, this was in the 80s, it was a small farm, but my dad's grain trucks were C60 Chevy trucks, right? Single axles.
Yeah.
And we would have to cross a state highway from time to time to get to some of our fields from the farm. And dad said, I just want you to remember this: he who's bigger wins. If it's you in that grain truck or that tractor pulling a cultivator, you're going to win over someone like your mom's car. But if it's a loaded semi that's hauling for the elevator, you lose.
Yep.
And not enough of us put that in perspective, is what I would assume.
That's right. And one thing that really bothers me is somebody will pass you and then diddle along right in front of you. Like, if
Mhm.
you're gonna pass, get going and get away. But
Yeah.
but it's just like you can't stay behind. And my always thing is, like, well, if you stay behind, nothing's gonna hurt you. If you get in front, then something could happen.
Right.
So
But
talking about the size difference, Perry,
yeah.
how heavy is your rig when you're empty?
About 18 and a half tone, whatever.
So about 40,000 pounds.
Yeah.
And you look at is that about right, Perry?
Let me just figure that out.
Man doing the math. All right.
What is your pickup weight, Bridget? You got a Ford pickup.
40,000. It's almost 41,000 pounds.
Okay.
So Bridget's pickup is probably about 5,000 pounds because it's a Ford.
Yeah.
Yep.
And aluminum body.
Oh,
Yeah.
then it's 2,000 pounds.
So even empty, Bridget, when you take 41,000 compared to 5,000 or 6,000, and if you look at a car, you're looking at 3,000 to 4,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Even when the trucks are empty, it's a huge, huge difference.
It's tremendous. And yeah, I think I'm pretty protected in a pickup, but then there's a little car by me, right? And they're smaller, lighter weight, all of that too. Yeah.
You know, look what we had with Jason Hansen with one of the earlier episodes.
Episode 11. I recommend it, Perry.
Episode 11. Yep, that's a good one to listen to. Perry was in, Jason was in a pickup truck and went head on with a minivan, right?
Yep. He was in a Ford half-ton. Yep.
Yeah, and those are similar weight, you know, and he has lifelong complications from that. And one of the people died, you know. So what we like to do, Perry, is on this podcast is to try and help people understand the differences between trucks and cars. And what we do as truck drivers to try and help. You're talking about scanning ahead and watching all the time, making sure you have a plan if something happens.
Yeah.
And because we are supposed to be the professionals.
So besides those things, Perry, I mean, I have things in my head that I get trained to do when I'm driving my passenger vehicle. When you're driving down the road, what are the things that you're thinking of? Just like you said, should I be ahead or behind them? Looking down the highway, what are some other tips that you want people to remember?
Well, I don't know. Just, I guess, keep their nose out of the phone and keep a watch out for what's going on. But, and then be aware that, if you're going to pass this truck, you should get going because, just because he's going slow up the hill doesn't mean he's going to be going slow the rest of the way. So, that's where we have a lot of issues with people, because they're just jogging along and then, you're holding up traffic then, So, I really don't know just really what the answer is to, everything, but, that's some of my observations, I guess.
Do you think that you drive differently, or should we, if you're in your truck versus in your own personal vehicle?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I actually drive the same in this personal vehicle. I'm looking, always looking way ahead to see what's going on. And, road conditions too, like, water on the road kind of, even though this thing is 40,000 pounds and, and then loaded weight, it still freaks me out. Water, on the road or slush, like you've got slush. I'm just really, you go to pass somebody, are you going to get swerved in the slush, like things like that. So, when it's really ugly out, I just kind of stay in the lane and follow, whatever the traffic is, like I don't get in a big hurry to, go out. And then, like on the highway there where David and I met, that's a bad highway here in southern Alberta for a lot of accidents and a lot of deaths. And the biggest problem, everybody blames the highway. It's not the highway, it's the people driving. Now, if they would just kind of, it's a 2-lane highway for, 60, 70 miles there. And if you just kind of watch what's in front of you and think, well, geez, like there's 5, 6 vehicles in front of me. I can't pass all these guys. So I might as well just stay where I'm at and go the speed that, what everybody else is going. Usually, people tootle along 8, 7, 8, 9 kilometers over the speed limit. And then you get the odd one that runs the speed limit, which is totally fine. But, if you get 5 or 6 vehicles doing the speed limit, well, what's the point of trying to get past all these guys, to be in the same spot at the same time, So that's kind of my thought.
And if you're behind somebody that's a few kilometers an hour slower than you, more than likely they're going to turn off before too long,
Yeah.
or you're going to get to a passing lane where you
Yep.
can do it safely. And in the end, you arrive safely where you're going instead of causing an incident or even
Yep.
just causing yourself stress.
Well, yeah. I've
For me,
actually on that same road, David, I've had other trucks pass me, and I think on them passing lanes, and like there's 3 or 4 vehicles in front of us, and I think, well, geez, what's the point of that? So anyway, they've passed me, kind of put me in a predicament on the passing lane. And then we get to the same place at the same time anyway, because the vehicles in front, they didn't figure out that, geez, I can't get past all them other guys, but I see that. So, I mean, I just take it cool.
and at the end of the day, your stress level.
Yep.
How would you quantify that as different from the other guys that are always looking to try and pass and get ahead?
Oh, I would say mine is like 2 or 3 compared to the other guy that's at 10,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about, right?
Absolutely.
Take us back to your childhood, Perry.
Okay.
How did you get into trucking, or was it something you wanted to do?
Well,
or explain to us.
Let me tell you this story, David. This is something that goes back to probably when I was probably 5 or 6 years old. And I don't know if you're aware of where the Husky is in Medicine Hat, but anyway, I'm in the back seat of the car with my mom and dad and my brother, and this big green cab over comes up behind us while we're sitting there by the Husky there. And I looked through the back window at that thing, and I said, I remember saying this, that's what I want to do when I grow up.
Yeah.
And like that, that was about 5 or 6, I would imagine. And then just, as my teenage years, it just kind of kept watching and like, wow, that's, like I kept looking, and, in my early 20s, that's when we bought our first truck, and away we went, So it's, when you talk about living the dream, I actually am.
Very cool.
And I still enjoy, for the most part, every day, I still enjoy doing what I'm doing,
Yeah.
So.
What was your first truck?
Cab over Kenworth.
Cab over Kenworth.
Yep.
290 in it? 290 Cummins?
No, actually that had a 400. I'm not that old, David.
Hey, I drove a 290 Cummins.
No, this one had the big cam 400 or whatever they called that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
well, yes,
and it's
because
just, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Keep talking.
And it's just been, like people ask me, well, what kind of truck do you drive? I said Kenworth. I said, do they make any other kind?
It's the world's best for a reason, right?
Yeah, because that's all I've ever drove was a Kenworth.
I was just gonna say, you guys are as partial to your brand as anybody with their passenger vehicle, the color of their farm equipment, or the brand of seed they buy.
Absolutely.
Well, there is only one color of farm equipment, isn't there, Bridget?
Well, in my world, it'd be John Deere green. Thank you.
That's
So
what
today,
I was going to say.
So today, Perry, then what is your truck now? You have a W900?
I do, yep.
Super B grain trailers.
Yep, the one that was in the picture there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
What year is your truck?
It's an 02, actually.
An 02.
Yep.
10 years old. Actually,
20 years old.
20 model years old.
Yep.
20 years old. Have you had that truck since brand new?
No, I got it when it was about 5 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. It was actually sitting in a field up the number 3 there from where we met there.
Okay.
Some guy had it. Some guy had it for sale, and it just kind of got into my system, and I got it. So
this truck has an affection for just sitting in a field. So maybe it was just trying to return, is what you might
Go,
say.
go back to its homeland.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So I think there's two things I really want to call out in what we were talking about when there were points that I think Perry made that I want to reiterate for drivers, whether you're in a passenger vehicle or a over the road truck. And one of them was about wildlife. That's another little rule of thumb that most people may not realize. When something crosses your path, I'm sorry, this is going to sound terrible, but hit it. Don't swerve. I have hit my brakes if it's not icy for deer, but if I know that that's something I'd have to swerve around, I'm sorry, the deer's going down. The rabbit, the raccoon, I'll fix body damage before I will worry about what happens when I go getting into a ditch. So I think that's one thing we want people to remember, right, guys?
Yep, absolutely.
And I think the second one needs to be give each other a healthy dose of space. So like you said, if I'm the passenger vehicle that passes you, Perry, get out of the way. If I'm going to pass you, drive fast, get away, give that personal space back to the truck. If I'm going to follow you, don't be tailgating. And for the love of God, let's try not to pass while you're turning, right? How many times do you see that? You have your blinker on and somebody doesn't believe it. And they run right into your trailer as you're turning, or someone's trailer.
Yep.
So again, that healthy dose of space around your vehicle can save you a lot of angst.
Yep. Space and common sense.
So we're shooting for here.
And VIP sent us a little message, make sure we're polite to truckers because their trucks are like trains. And actually, Perry drives a Super B train. And so it takes several hundred feet for them to come to a total stop.
Yep.
So it's a good rule of thumb. Nobody sees a train stop fast. Super B trains, grain wagons, trucks, we don't stop fast.
Nope.
Nope. And when you're loaded and have way more weight and inertia behind you, that's a whole different game.
Anything else, Perry, that you want to tell us about today, or any advice for some rookies?
Oh, I don't know, just look forward. That's all I can say. Keep aware of where you're at and what your situation is, and and drive for the weather. I mean, lots of people just I when the weather's bad, and icy roads, or I don't know, I think they're icy, and then guys will pass you, and I think, well, what does he know that I don't know? So I mean, things like that. Just kind of drive for the conditions, I guess.
Boy, you are right there.
Yeah.
There's no conditions that are worse if you're driving according to them.
That's right.
And if you can't see, don't drive.
Yeah.
Why go out there?
Yeah.
It's like you said before, space and common sense, right, Perry?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that I've been that way. Like, I don't like to be following, like, especially when the weather's bad. I don't like to be close to anybody. Like, if something goes wrong, like, you've got some space to maneuver or get yourself out of a pickle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Couldn't agree more, no matter what size vehicle you drive.
Yeah.
So
that's been the way I drive.
Yep.
Sorry.
Thank you for coming on with us, Perry. Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day.
Yeah,
and
you betcha.
It was, I tell you, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you so much for doing it. If you're going to blow a tire, then blow it right in front of me like that, where I can get it on camera and I can put it out to people and show them exactly what needs to be done. Because
Jeez,
I'm only thinking about us and the others, but
what are the chances of that happening, David?
Pretty small. Pretty small. To run into the guy that is going to want to have a chat with you. So that was pretty good. And I tell you, that was such a high for me to see that professional bit of driving.
I appreciate your good comments, David.
David was just glad it wasn't him who was having to do that driving.
Yeah.
So.
Actually, I've been there. And when I was writing that article, I wrote about my experience, but then I said to Perry when I saw him, "Hey, Perry." So that article is actually written now and it's submitted to the editor, and we'll see if that comes out. And there I talk about Perry.
Great.
Okay.
Which is nicer. So I
Right
want
on.
to thank Jesse James Dupree for our music. It Didn't Fall from the Sky, and Dixie Inc. And I want to thank everybody for listening, for liking, subscribing, sharing, doing whatever you like to do. Thanks to VIP, our very important person who does all of the social media stuff and keeps everybody going and interested in our channel. And she's running a company called Redesign Social. So if you need help with your social media stuff, then be sure to check out Redesign Social on Instagram. So close us out, Bridget.
Folks, thanks so much for joining us here on this episode. Again, follow us, subscribe, and give us 5-star ratings. We appreciate it. Y'all have a fabulous day on the road.
From the sky magically appeared. It was Bob here on his back, shifting 10 hard gears.